we have to create the right vibe, the energy, and everybody at the organization has to feel so privileged to be here. It's no other way.
Thanks for listening to the Purely Arsenal podcast. Please follow us on Twitter at Purely Arsenal FP for all the latest Arsenal podcasts.
Welcome to another episode of a Purely Arsenal sit-down podcast. We're back after the international break, and we're back this time with a bang. Last time it was awful. This time we had in Nottingham Forest their first away defeat of the season, and it was a smashing. And I'm joined by Neil Shah. How you doing, Neil?
I'm good. It was an honour to win, to watch two Oscar-winning performances, I think, there from two very good players of ours. Good to be back to winning ways, I think.
Yes, the right-hand pod is back with a bang. How are we doing, James Johnstone?
Yeah, no, I'm very well. Thank you for having me on. And pleasure to be on when it's a win as well, and a convincing one as well. It's nice to actually have goals to talk about and not small things as well.
I know. It's been a while, hasn't it? 48 days, someone said to me. I was like, well, has it? I was like, no wonder I've been such a miserable so-and-so for the last, 6 weeks or so. That is a long time, isn't it? And let's hope we're, it's just the start of something. Obviously, a lot of people, a huge run coming up, obviously a game every 3 days now, and but I don't think anyone, James, you're big on the predicted lineups, could have predicted this sort of lineup. So I just want to talk about it a little bit. And Neil, I know you don't love lineup questions, but it's more about why do you think that rotation occurred? Because we almost took out our whole spine from midfield upwards in Partey, Rice and Havertz. All didn't start, Martinelli as well. And I wonder if do you think it was partly or do you think it was all in terms of managing the players and looking ahead to the schedule? Or do you think some of it might have been tactical? Either way, James, full credit to the manager, because if he got this wrong, or we would have been absolutely going crazy. We, in fairness, when it was announced, we were a little bit. We were kind of like, what the hell is going on here? But without doubt, he got it right. Arguably our best performance of the season when you look at it overall, certainly in recent weeks anyway. What's your thoughts?
Yeah. So, obviously, I put out the predicted lineup completely wrong. When that lineup was announced, obviously you see the meltdown on Twitter and everything else, and I sent a message, didn't I, about the forward line, the back four. I thought was brilliant. I was like, okay, because I was convinced that Thomas Partey was playing right back in that game before obviously the lineup come out. To see it at the time, like you said, alarm bells. I'm like, if this goes wrong, this is totally on him as a manager. Regardless of what the players do out there on the pitch, it's all going to be like you set it up from the beginning with that lineup. However, hindsight's a wonderful thing. Yeah, I think it was spot on. And do you know what? I know that sometimes Arteta has been, and I've said it about him as well, about how I feel he plays it a bit too safe. I think he took a big gamble there yesterday, and obviously that big gamble did pay off. But I think a lot of it, and we had this debate ourselves, didn't we, yesterday after watching, the greatest side in Premier League history lose to it's amazing what happens when Tottenham actually turn up against Man City. When they're not trying to stop another side from winning a league and they actually play. It's amazing what you can do. If you actually play a game of football instead of missing sitters and cheering when the other team scores goals, you actually might have a chance in this league, because anybody can beat anybody on any given day. But yeah, that's a different podcast for a different day. I'll go back to the question you said. Yeah, it was a huge gamble, but I think a lot of it is, I think it's about 50-50 Jack in he's looking at obviously the 3 games pretty much non-consecutively now until about February, March time each week. But also, I think a lot of it is there's a group of players there that he's going, as much as we're going as fans, show me something. show me something. And do I want him to be doing that? Not necessarily. However, I understand what it is, because he's got to basically take as much as he can with this squad up until that January window, and he either bins them off, or if he has to keep them, well, they've got to at least be, he's got to at least have them on form and try and be productive if they're staying. So, yeah, I think it's a bit of half and half.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I mean, obviously, Havertz played a bit in international break, and he's been relentless. I think he's looked tired in recent weeks, Havertz, to be fair, because I don't think the dual role without Odegaard has really helped. I mean, he's almost been overloaded, I think, and Rice has looked tired since the get-go, hasn't he, really? And then he's got the toe injury as well. So those were understandable. I thought Jorginho, I've said to Neil offline, I thought Jorginho one might have been tactical. I thought he looked at Nottingham Forest being a really good counter-attacking team. I think they get the most counter-attacking goals in the league last season. I think they're right up there this season. And I think he looked at Partey as maybe a turnover possibility, because he sometimes is a little loose with the ball. And I think he basically wanted to just shut that down. And I thought the great thing about Jorginho is he comes in and he just looks like he's been playing every week. That's the great thing about Jorginho. He never looks like he's off the pace, because he doesn't have any. But in terms of his brain, he's constantly working. He looks like he's guiding the team really well. And it looked like everyone knew exactly what they were doing, because they had the, captain Odegaard and the leader as well from deep in Jorginho. And I thought in my head, I was like, I wonder if that was a tactical move. But I thought what was nice as well, and I think we said this on the last pod, was Rice hasn't been good this season, and we have to get comfortable with him not playing, especially in the 8. I don't think he's like a must start in the 8 personally. Rice, not at the moment, because I think what you saw from Moreno was, although I think he had a iffy 15 minutes in the second half, I think overall what you see, he just is far more comfortable in those spaces and receiving the ball with his back to goal and pivoting and turning and distributing quicker than Declan Rice. And I think Declan Rice is a huge pillar to this team, but without his sort of energy and athleticism, I think from the 8, I don't necessarily think it's an absolute necessity. I definitely think he can, like we lost Odegaard and we all lost our brains, or if we lose Saliba, I don't think it's that. Not from the 8. If he develops into the 6 role, it may become. He certainly could easily become that, but we're not there yet with that. So, Neil, what did you think? I'll tell you, James is right. Huge risk. I mean, huge gamble. A lot of people saying this was the biggest game of the week. Because it was the first one because of the amount of ground we've lost recently, and Forest being on a tremendous start to the season. He does deserve a lot of credit, doesn't he, really? I'm not sure it was something he would have done at this stage going into a game like this last season. He would have gone, I'll play my first 11, I've got to get a win here. And he didn't do that, did he?
Yeah, massive risk. I mean, Forest have been playing really well. I think they've been ahead in 10 of the 11 games they've played or something. Because, I mean, James probably know the stat there, but they've been doing really well when they've taken the lead. And they are a very, very... I think a quick and a quite high press attacking team, and they can hurt you, especially with their pace. So to play, make so many changes. I mean, we all said it on the chat. We're thinking, what's he doing? And all right, if he's thinking about rotation, I mean, there are other factors like you just said, Jack. But if he was thinking about rotation, you're thinking, why? It's almost as if you're giving other competitions more of a precedence or more importance than the Prem. And surely the Prem's the most important. And as I said, again, as you said, coming off such a bad run, that you don't start taking chances now, it doesn't make any sense. And actually, I think, James, if you were listening to Matthew Upson, he said the same thing. He said exactly the same thing. So it was a really strange one to see. I think we were all shocked, but actually it paid off so well. I actually thought... Jorginho is I've always liked Jorginho. I don't have many problems with him. He, like every player, he might make the odd mistake here and there, but generally, for me, he's almost like Arteta's echo on the pitch. because you can see him, he's always like pointing and directing and whatnot. And whilst Odegaard is the captain and he leads by example, I can see Jorginho's more the voice and the gesturer on the pitch. And I think he's quite a smart guy. And I think he's going to become a manager very much like Arteta has in the future. So that's how I say. And I think he's very, very clever. But I like Mourinho. I hadn't really paid much attention to him until yesterday, actually, ironically. I think we took our foot off the gas in the second half, especially after the second goal. But I thought generally he was so good. He's very clever. He's very aware, and I don't know why I feel that about him, but he feels like he eats up ground so quickly and very effortlessly as well. And I think he feels quite commanding. He seems quite commanding when he's on the ball. I really like him. And there were so many times where he was, going forward and turning up around the box or in the box and, just putting through those little balls, one-touch balls, which could have led to more goals, really, if you think about it. He had an assist, didn't he, which led to a disallowed goal very early on. So he's there and he's doing that kind of having that kind of impact for us. But generally, I think it paid off really well. And we looked, for me, all I'll say in summary is we looked back to ourselves again. We looked a completely different team up until the international break from what we saw last season, or at least the second half of last season at least. And now I think we're back. And the biggest thing for me is like we just seemed we just had life and energy and drive, whereas before we were just like playing off the ball more and waiting for a counter. This time we were going for the jugular ourselves. So I thought it was a really enjoyable game to watch, actually.
Yeah, I thought it was good, and we clearly had a sense of trying to maybe be a bit more technical on the ball and dominate the ball against Nottingham Forest. But I definitely think we looked like we didn't want to be transitioned on as well. But we were fantastic overall, and like you said, we had the early couple of chances. Trossard was offside. And then the Timber one, which, whatever you want to say about the line being drawn there, two things I took from that was we were just way behind all the other leagues, aren't we? I mean, they've all got semi-automated offsides, and we're there drawing fake lines with, pencils and rulers for 4 minutes. And, no one knows if it's right or not. Absolutely no one knows. I think it about
Jack, I said the other week, these guys can snort lines, but they can't draw them. That's how, that's what they're like, mate, I'm afraid. That's the caliber of individual we're dealing with.
Yeah.
Because when I saw, I still, from when I've seen it, and I've seen it about 3 or 4 times now, I'm like, you've got to draw that line from where Dominguez is, not from, I can't even remember who the other player is. Because I'm like, if you draw that from where Dominguez is, I think that's on. I don't know. I'm prepared to be flamed in the comments or what have you, but to me, I the more I've watched it, the more I'm like, I don't see where you're telling me that's offside. I don't understand. And maybe that's me being, I get what you mean, because you don't know, you just don't know anymore. There's not enough clarity there to be explained. But I'm like, well, you're telling me that Moreno, his like shoulder or his arm or whatever. I mean, that to me is what does my head in. I mean, I remember last year listening to Arsene Wenger on David Seaman's podcast, and they were saying about, you being at FIFA now, what would you and he said, for me, it's football. So offside should only count for your feet. He's like, if your feet are off, you're all this about, he's if you're pointing like that, going, give me the ball here. His arm's off, and all, because he's like, you can't score a goal with your arm. Yeah. You can't score a goal with your. So he's like, it should just purely be on the feet, which I agree with. I think that's a rule that should be implemented in, because you want, as a product, you're telling me you want to give advantage to the attacker because you want more goals. I'm like, well, then why are we giving offsides for hands, for fingernails, for bloody, pubes, whatever we're giving them for? And yet, now, this yesterday, I'm like, but his arm is in line with Dominguez, and Dominguez is the last player. So I don't know what you're trying. I don't understand what you're, going on. And
The one thing I took from it, though, although I kept just shouting, I was like, just give it offside. I knew they were going to give it offside. I was like, just give it offside. Let's get on the game. Yeah. I was like, I don't want to get excited about a goal in the 4th minute. Just give it offside and let's But what I took from it was very, very similar to the Liverpool goal where Mourinho scored the header. Took a while to look at that one as well. And we do this intentionally, and Mourinho is so dangerous from these situations. I mean, I said this when he had a relatively poor game away at Inter and he missed that header and we thought it was a pen. He gets into these positions so often, and what we should really be sort of lauding or thinking about is look how much space he finds himself in. It was, an inch on or off, whatever. And he does it time and time again from these sort of free kicks around the box. He's so dangerous from them. And he maybe could have done a little bit better with the header, but he's so dangerous at picking up these spaces and winning these headers. I mean, he won the most duels yesterday, the most tackles yesterday. He's very involved, like very, very involved. And he's such a danger. When we've got a delivery like Odegaard's or Rice's in the Liverpool game, for example, didn't he cover a lot of the ground as well? Was he top or thereabouts? Was he? I didn't see. I never can get.
He was 2/3 into the match. He was. He was slightly ahead of Odegaard. Yeah.
Which is interesting. Yeah. Do you remember Xhaka was like that as well?
Yes.
Do you remember? He's starting to really.
He does
mimic a lot of the stuff on the ball that Xhaka does, but what he has that Xhaka doesn't have is Xhaka never had this crashing of the box stuff. Not really. I know he had 7 goals in his final season, but he got them in different ways. I know he had a few times, the Tottenham goal at home where they were down to 7 and stuff like that. But he didn't get them like this, like constantly crashing the box from set pieces. He's such a danger, and we're already dangerous from set pieces. So now, we're adding this guy to the mix. I'm looking at it going, we're a nightmare.
Wasn't it Mourinho? They could have had the touch in against Chelsea, the last kick of the game.
Yes, again. Yes, yeah, just got away from him. Yeah, so similar run, similar run to. So it's very interesting. It was unlucky for Timber because I think that would have been his first goal, wouldn't it, in the Prem? So that was frustrating. I thought it was Jesus when he hit it, to be honest. But has Timber scored in the Prem? I'm trying to think. Has he scored? I can't think of one, but.
I'll look it up because I'm convinced he has, but I'm not sure.
If he has, it's this season because he didn't play at all, did he, before it? Or basically didn't play last season. So
I don't think he has in the Prem, but I could be wrong.
I can't think of it, but maybe I'm losing my mind on it. But it was evidence of us starting really, really well. And like you said, Neil, the right hand pod just sort of fluid again. I think Timber works really well with that. I think he's just loving playing there. You can tell he's a bit more fluid on the right hand side. Definitely, he's a bit more comfortable going forward and joining the attack. And but then Saka does his thing, doesn't he? I think Odegaard gets the assist for that, but it's really all Saka in the sense. Jorginho does well to keep the ball alive, but then Saka, he looked dangerous from the get-go, really. But it's a brilliant individual bit of brilliance. Again, Neil, he's got 12 goals and assists in 11 games this season, which is 57% of our goal tally, meaning he's involved in. And that's fantastic for him, but we're burdening him a bit too much for me. But what's your thoughts on the goals?
Oh God, I don't think it's been talked about enough. Actually, I think it's that good. The more and more I see it, it's not just Saka, as you said. Odegaard, for me, what he's done since coming back, he's taken. You were talking about taking the burden away from who was it? The other player. But I think he's also taken the burden away a lot from Saka, because when Odegaard isn't there, the defenders close in on him 2s and 3s and then try and kick or break his legs. But when Odegaard's there, their mind is taken away. We're thinking, oh God, we've got to defend against him as well. And I think that really gives Saka a lot of freedom, or more freedom and space. But what? Yeah, you're right. Jorginho actually somehow he acrobatically managed to get that ball back in to play. And after that, it's just the Odegaard and Saka show. That little kind of flick or touch that Odegaard does. He did it 3 or 4 times during the whole match, but just sensational. He's just so aware and so quick thinking. It's unbelievable. And I think they've got a bit of telepathy. We always just talk about Emil Smith-Rowe and Saka having telepathy between the two. I think these two have established that now. They're so good together. It's so dangerous for an opposition. How do you counter anything like this? It's ridiculous. There was another quick moment, sorry to digress, but there was another quick moment that reminded me of vintage Arsenal where they were really playing this intricate one-touch quick football, which then led to Jesus' miss. I think it just went wide or something. I mean, it's just a joy to watch. It's just, when you see that, you feel like, do you know what, that's worth the ticket price or admission ticket alone. It's just so gorgeous to watch. But Saka, to take that and then run literally against a wall of players, including our own, and then to find the gap that small, and he's almost like twisting his foot around, because he then shoots into the opposite angle of he doesn't go to the near post, he goes to the far post with such power and accuracy. Oh my God, I don't think that goal's talked about enough. For me, that's goal of the month, easily, if not a contender for goal of the season. I know it's not one of these flashy kind of powerhouse goals, but it's just the way it's done for him to run through and find a gap and to do that. It's just amazing. I kept watching that goal over and over again. I kept rewinding and thinking, how has he done that? How has he actually found the space? Incredible. It just sums up what a talent he is and how important he is to us, as well as Odegaard. But he is just so vital. And the scary thing is, I think he can get better. I keep saying that Nwaneri is actually going to become a better player than him. But I think Saka's also going to improve as well as time goes on. I'll let James have a say on it. I think it was a sensational goal.
James, thoughts on... I was on mute. Oh, what a rookie mistake. Sorry. James, thoughts on Bukayo Saka? I mean, his numbers are elite. My slight concern, and I have this argument with my brother, who every time he scores seems to say, hopefully Saka steps up now. And I'm like, he's been doing it for 3 years. Just watch the games if you can, bruv. Stop watching it on Betfair. But, my issue here, and I think there's a lot of evidence for it, is in order for us to win it, I've always said Saka's going to be right there if we do, but we have to get other players to his level in terms of output, and we don't have that. Whereas, when Liverpool won the league, they had Salah doing these numbers, but then they had Mane doing the same thing, and other people, and City the same. They have multiple, De Bruyne, and then then Haaland, and I think the burden's a little bit too on him, and that's my concern. And I'm not sure I see anyone. Maybe Havertz, if he doesn't keep dropping him into midfield, that'd be nice. But that's where I'd be looking. But every time I watch this, I'm like, we can't always expect him to be the one to break the deadlock and open it up, and he can't do it every single moment. Of course, he's that good, but we have to spread the load a little bit more. I shouldn't be talking about that when I'm talking about such a fantastic goal from him, James, but I don't know why it brings me back to it.
Yeah, I mean, to answer the second bit of your question, and then I'll do what I normally do, which is the wax lyrical. For me, I think you're spot on, and obviously the emphasis has been on him for so long, due to the fact that arguably our greatest conductor of the orchestra of play that we make has been absent for God knows how long, hasn't he? He's been away for so long. And I know a lot of people were like, I think Arsenal are looking not too bad without Odegaard in there. And obviously he's come back and played 2 games. And he's got 2 assists in both those games, Odegaard. So that shows you just how important he is. I always put my favourite little word in there, don't I, in the chat, of numbers. And I do it from like a humorous standpoint. However, if that number's going to go up, it's because that man is back in our team. Because we will become more of a goals by committee team with that guy in there. Because, like Neil said, he can find a pass, he can do something, he can find someone in a phone box, amount of space. That's just, that's a classic football cliche, but that is what he does. And yeah, for Saka to run in the way that he's running in, I'm looking at it going, well, where are you going now? I'm not panicking, but I'm like, what's in your head? What are you doing? And then to produce that kind of finish, and I know, Neil, you speak about it a lot, about Odegaard and the way Odegaard can strike a ball, because you're like, it's not normally power, it's more so the placement. You're like, they're like snooker shots, aren't they? The way that you're like, wow, look at this, but that yesterday, for me, like you said, he's cut across to the other side of the goal to where you think he's going to do it. But that did have some venom in it as well. And the way that it nested perfectly, I was like, wow, okay. And, you know, he seems to just have a thing with Nottingham Forest where he just scores insane goals against them. He's won last year against Nottingham Forest, was incredible as well, weren't it? That was Matt Turner after he left first game, and he absolutely swazzed that one into the top bins against them last season as well. So he's kept that going. But yeah, if we're going to do anything, it is because that guy is just so sublime and so unreal. And I think now, Jack, other players will hopefully start producing because you've got him on top form and you've got Martin Odegaard back, who, let's be fair, going off these 2 games, he's got 2 assists in a row. So I don't see him stopping anytime soon. So hopefully, like we were last season, where we're just bang, there's 5 goals in that game, bang, there's 6 goals in that game, bang, there's 4 there. That's what we need to be, especially with this run of games that we've got coming up. That's what we need to be doing, and that's what I expect us to be doing going forward as well. But yeah, I totally understand what you said about the burden and the load on Bukayo Saka, because it is insane. However, until I see an absolute, decline in either his output or his overall contribution in games, I'm not going to panic. I mean, I didn't think he had his best game against Chelsea, but I think a lot of that was they tactically saw how good he is, shut him down, and, kicked him about a bit as well.
Yeah.
And
that's when you want to be able to go, okay, now we can move the ball other areas and really use our area. But we need the left side to be at the equivalent, and it's not been for about a year and a half, has it? To be fair,
no.
I mean, it's not been. No matter who we're playing there, it's not really been. And Odegaard has the potential to, in my opinion, to hit De Bruyne-like numbers. I mean, he really does. The one frustration I get with Odegaard, he's so good. I mean, I think he's the best player in the league, to be honest. But I think he should be. Saka gets 6 shots off in this game, and if you look at all of Saka's game, he gets about half a dozen shots off. Odegaard should be hitting those sort of numbers. He's too unselfish. Sometimes. Sometimes he's got the ball in and around the box. The pass isn't on. Just unleash it, mate. You got the best shot in the team. Unleash it. If the pass is not on, step it out and unleash it. He could bag so many goals. I mean, the season he bagged, 15 goals, non-penalty goals. He was doing a little bit more of that, and I think we may have to put that onto him. But it was nice in a way that Kai Havertz wasn't playing, because we weren't always trying to whip a ball into the box. It was almost like we knew we couldn't. So we constantly try to play through the spaces and the half spaces and centrally a little bit more. And I like that. And it was almost got us back to playing the way that we know we can. And Kai Havertz can thrive from that too, because, there's no reason why he can't. We need to mix it up a little bit more. Don't want to see us pinging 35 crosses in a game, to be honest. So I thought we looked really, really good. First half, probably should have been up by more. They didn't have a sniff. I thought defensively, this game we were really good, Neil. And we talk about the goals and, how important that was to get a good win. I mean, this is our first clean sheet, as James said, offline since the Wolves game at home in the Premier League. That might be really important for us too, Neil, because as good as we think we are defensively, we've been very leaky all season, haven't we? And not only did we keep a clean sheet in this game, I think they got about 0.4 XG. And I don't even know where that came from. A couple of headers and a chance right at the end that deflected off Chris Wood's head, which was lovely to see. Despise that bloke for obvious reasons. But they didn't really, I don't recall a real chance from them, Neil. David Rad did not have anything to do. They didn't have a shot on target. So that was really encouraging to see, wasn't it? Because the way it's been going, in fairness, recently, is if they do have a shot on target, it goes in. But we didn't even allow that, so that was nice.
Yeah, it was actually. I mean, it's quite nice not to have to talk about that side of the game for a change, because there just wasn't really much to talk about. You mentioned Rayo. He did. All I can remember is he had one where he punched the ball out, and then another where he slightly fumbled the collection, but then he grabbed it. And it was still a very difficult under pressure get or collect to achieve, but he managed it. But he looked I mean, I think he's looked himself again for a couple of games, actually, to be fair. He had a little bit of a blip, didn't he, where he was like, this is very unlike him, but I think he's fine. And then I think, like James said from the top of the pod, I think that is such a good defensive lineup, is it not? The back four that we've got. I know Rico, I'm still going to say Rico. He's still probably not the finished article, but there was things that I saw him do yesterday. He looks one thing I like about him, he looks so confident in what he does. And there was one moment, it actually might have been the second half, so forgive me, but there was one where he was completely out of position. I think he was almost like in an attacking position, right down the other end. And then they had a bit of a breakaway, one of the rare chances. And the way he sprinted back, it didn't even look like he was running fast, but he got there and he got the ball to help Gabriel out to avoid any potential threat. And that was one end of the pitch to the other. And then just some other bits I saw him do. But, Gabriel and Saliba speak for themselves. Again, Saliba may have made one error or something, but there wasn't enough from Forest to cause us any concern or any worry, really, if you think about it. And Timber just looks, for me, look, I love Ben White, and maybe Ben White, now we know, may have not been on the greatest form this season because he might have been carrying something, and obviously now he's out for months. So, but I think I would like, if Rico stays fit, I think I'd like to see Timber on the right-hand side, because I think he's going to, the way I used to see those triangles with White, Odegaard and Saka, I think Timber's going to do that, but even more. I think he could add a little bit more to what Ben White was doing. And there's something about Timber that I absolutely love. He hasn't shown it yet in terms of production, but it's there, and it's going to, and I can see him bagging a few goals as well eventually. It's still quite early in the season. Let's not forget that. I know we've all been thinking, oh my God, Liverpool are going to run away with it, or potentially they will. But it's still early, and there's still time for players like Timber to really show us what we missed last season. And I think it will happen. But playing on the right, he's got the best setup, has he not? With arguably two of the best players at the moment in the Prem on that side. But just another caveat on that, though, is I still worry that even yesterday, I was watching this game, a lot of all our stuff came from the right. Even Trossard, when he was doing anything, he was on the right. There was hardly anything happening from the left. And that for me is a little bit of a worry. I want to see some more output from the left as well. But, maybe I'm just being hypercritical. But yeah, I think defensively, there was nothing to worry with. They didn't concern us. But even when they did, we were there to stop them and mitigate anything they had to offer. I can't speak highly of the defensive stay.
Saliba handled their striker really well, didn't he? I mean, he had a 98% pass accuracy, but any time that striker got anywhere close to the ball, he just ate him up. It just absolutely, he couldn't get a sniff, could he? He was just so good, Saliba. I thought so smooth. He looks really, really good. And I agree with you. I think, obviously, we've lost Ben White now for what looks like 2 to 3 months minimum. Probably closer to 3 months if it's a knee operation, and what I'm thinking it is, which is likely some sort of cartilage issue that's usually closer to 3 months. So frustration there is, I agree with you. Unless it was a shut down winger and you wanted to play Timber on the left for that, I'd be playing Timber more right back in this phase, and probably interchanging him with Partey, because obviously we don't have Tomiyasu, and those are our only real two options there now. You can't play Timber every game because you just can't do that. So I would be doing that. And then what will be interesting is at left back, you can't play Calafiori every game either, because he's not at that stage yet. He's obviously had fitness issues of his own. So it'll be interesting to find out who his sort of second choice left back is in this group of three out of Zinchenko, Lewis Skelly, Kivior. I don't know in my head. I'm not sure if he's fully sold on any of them yet, in that sense. I mean, Lewis Skelly obviously young, and that would be the reason for that more than his quality. But we've seen, him fall in and out of favour with Kivior and Zinchenko multiple times over the last year and a half, so it could be anyone's guess there, to be honest. I know Zinchenko got on for a good period in this game when Calafiori, so maybe that's a sign of Zinni maybe getting a start here and there in the coming weeks. But it will be interesting.
What's interesting, actually, I think James might have gone forward in time. I got a feeling, James, the team that you picked for the game against Forest might be very similar to the one we see in midweek on Tuesday, I think it is. I've just got this feeling.
Rice, Havertz, Martinelli back, all those, yeah, quite possibly. It will be an interesting one, won't it? Because it's a quick turnover, isn't it? Tuesday, we've got obviously travel away, probably tomorrow or whatever, and that's a quick turnover, and obviously a very tough team to play. They're in the top 3 of the Champions League group or whatever, so he obviously he's looking ahead as well with it. But I thought, like you said, Timber and Calafield, so much more to come from them, but the balance is really nice between them when they're playing on either side, and you can tell they're still learning it a little bit, but they've got so much quality, and that's really good. And on Ben White, he hasn't looked himself all season, so I mean, I was quite critical of him in the last podcast, and then the injury stuff came out a bit more apparent, so he's still a quality player, but I do think Timber's got a hell of he's going to have his work cut out. If Timber stays fit through this period, he's going to have his real work cut out, because Timber's going to get better and better, I think. So that'll be very interesting. But Jorginho did well, James. I thought Jorginho did very well. Unfortunately, the ref tried to make a spectacle of it and started just booking all our players for no reason. And I think the only one that was worthy of a booking was Jesus' one, and even that, he was just clumsy. I thought reckless but clumsy. I don't think it was an intentional stamp or anything like that. But the Jorginho one and the Saka one were pathetic. I mean, pathetic. I don't even think they were foul. Maybe the Jorginho one was a foul, but it was Elanga driving, who I did think he injured his shoulder, but he didn't injure his shoulder from Jorginho. He injured it from landing on his shoulder, which is different. Neither are bookings, and neither was Aina's one for Forest wasn't a booking. He was just trying. He was just making, because he'd given us so many silly bookings at that point. He felt he had to, give one out to them at that, because they'd been making so many more fouls than us. But there was tons more before that where Saka was being pulled to the ground, and they should have made multiple before that. And I think Arteta looked at it and thought, the ref's trying to make himself known here. Jorginho, you're off, sorry mate. And that was quite sensible, because Partey's been terrific all season, and James, it was weird. At half time I was like, oh no, Jorginho's gone off. He's been really, really good, but Partey came on, and I think he was even better, to be honest. And he showed it with a goal. I mean, if he's going to score a great goal, he's going to score it against Nottingham Forest at home, isn't he, James?
Yeah, same again as like Saka. He seems to save him for Nottingham Forest. But yeah, what a strike from him, and he just carries on what I've said. I think he's been our best midfielder this season by a country mile. And Jack, I know obviously that transfer podcast that we did in the summer got pretty much the majority of it wrong. We did say we'd sign a Neto. Weren't the one that we expected, but we did say that we would sign Neto, so I'll give us some props there. We got that right. Clutching at straws. But yeah, I mean, he's just, if you said to me back then in that podcast when I was saying to you, if we can get anything for him, sell him. If you told me, James, don't worry because he's going to be our best midfielder this season, I'd have laughed at you, Jack. I'd have thought you were going mental. I'd have asked, I know California's obviously got it legalised, but I'd be asking you out, are you back on the old, you've been hanging around with old Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre and all them back over in Cali, mate, because you're not talking right. What's going on? But yeah, he's been sensational. He really, really has. He really, really has been sensational. And it was a really, really nice strike and finish. And just to quickly just divert back onto what you said about the defence, if I can. The only one of them yesterday that got dribbled past, funny enough, was Saliba, but it was only once. It was only one time. The rest of them. So, and a lot of the, as it always is that I've seen is, but after Forest got pumped by Newcastle, they're being found out now. They're being really, and I'm like, no. I'm like, Arsenal stopped them from playing. I'm like, let's get this crap away from, they were rubbish. I'm like, yeah, because we made them rubbish. What was it? Before that game, I think it was 33 or 37% of our goals this season have been conceded from set pieces, either in the first or the second phase. Well, they had James Ward-Prowse, who, he's nowhere near the player he was back before, but he can take a corner or he can take a free kick. Well, we did everything we could yesterday from set piece situation. David Raya yesterday, all of his distribution. Like I said when you were on with me and Mike the other week, Neil, didn't I? I said he's been laying on the ball and eating up time, and that's not what David Raya yesterday. As soon as he got it, who's there? Right, throw, kick. You know, he was so switched up. And Calafiori, for me, we all love the bloke. Look at him. How can you not love him? Look at him. I've said defensively, he's looking sus. You know, he's looking like this is a tough league. You know, it's a lot quicker than what I'm used to. Yesterday, I thought from a defensive standpoint, like you said, Neil, I thought that was his best game from a defensive standpoint that I've seen.
And Langer is rapid.
Exactly, but he looked really, really switched on. And I'm like, okay, if this is you coming off a break and you're getting your fitness back and you're settling, I'm like, this guy's going to be some player because he really, really was improved yesterday. And yeah, in terms of the other left back choices that we've got, Jack, yeah, it's a complete take a pick because, I mean, Tomiyasu for me, I think, I want to know if he actually exists because he just seems to, he's really close, and then all of a sudden it's I don't know what's going on with him at the moment. I can't tell you. Kieran Tierney is another one. We don't know. I know you keep saying to me he's not playing a game. I'm like, it wouldn't shock me. It wouldn't shock me, Jack.
It wouldn't shock me. But maybe League Cup, yeah. But you can't play him in the league. We can't be doing.
You don't know, do you?
We can't be doing the Scottish Weybridge football again. We ain't 8th anymore. We can't be doing that anymore. No. But yeah, you're right. I don't want to tempt fate because we've had a nightmare in terms of fitness as well at fullback area. To be honest, I mean, he stockpiles fullbacks, and you can see why with their fitness levels, can't you? But he's got options. He's still got a lot of options. So, but none of them may be ideal behind what we saw yesterday. So you just got to be careful with those two because that is our best back four for the foreseeable future on paper. So he has to keep that in mind and know what he asks of his fullbacks and protect them. I like that Calafiori came off after 60, was it, or roughly 60 minutes? I think 65. And if he needs to rotate him in week, then do so. Because he's coming from a team that's never played in Europe. Or obviously he qualified for Europe, but then he left. Bologna weren't in Europe, so to come to a team that's not only just playing in Europa League, he's now coming into a team that's playing twice a week Champions League football. I mean, that is a huge jump. Do you know what I mean? That is a huge jump for a player, and we've got to be careful with that because he'll be like, "Well, okay, it's great I'm playing midweek, but these games are tough, just as tough as league games." So we've got to be a little bit careful with him, and obviously Timber for known reasons, because we've got to keep him fit at the very least until Ben White comes back. We've got to keep them both fit. So yeah, he's got to be. And I think you saw a bit of that today. He's trying his best to do so. Obviously, you can't control everything, but trying his best to do so. But like you said, Partey's finish was unreal. I thought he was very, very good beyond the goal too. I thought he was great on the ball. I thought he was winning the ball back high. He wasn't loose on the ball at all. And he looked ready. Sometimes when he comes off the bench, Partey, he looks a little rusty. And you could tell this player is, for himself, he's fit. He's fit and he's ready to go. And yeah, fantastic. And what I liked about this was we found Jorginho again a little bit. Like Neil said, he's not been playing much and he should be playing a little bit more. I mean, he's quality in there. I wonder what it means for Rice. I wonder if he looked at it and went, I might be playing Partey at right back quite a lot. Will I be playing Jorginho at the 6 there? Am I fully comfortable in all types of games playing Rice at the 6 yet? We've seen him in the big games do it, the Liverpool at homes and stuff like that. But when you're going to be dominant like this game, you're going to have 70% of the ball. We've not seen enough of that yet to see that he really trust that. We saw it last season, but that was a long time ago now. So I don't know. Whether he's still thinking that Rice is going to be in the 8, and I don't know. Time will tell, really.
I think going back to even what you said right at the start of the podcast, where you were like Moreno at the moment looks more comfortable and everything else. I think with Declan Rice, I think he is severely, severely fatigued.
So give him the time. Yeah.
The player that we had last season. we weren't having this discussion of is he better at 6 or is he better at 8, because he was doing both with ease, with so much ease. And for me, he's all about energy, isn't he?
Yeah.
And if he can't run that race with his legs, then you see what kind of player he is. And at the moment, Moreno yesterday, like you said, so good in the tackle, especially when, before we started recording, you were talking about Cazorla and how well, because I'm not comparing, he's nowhere near the technical acumen that Santi Cazorla had. But one thing Santi Cazorla did do was he'd be snapping at your ankles to get that ball back, regardless of where you were. And I thought Moreno yesterday did that. But Declan Rice is one of our best players at winning the ball high and then distributing it either himself to get numbers or giving it to somebody else that will produce an assist and get you numbers. So yeah, the fitter he is and the more he can be, his industrious self, getting up and down here from both boxes, defending it, attacking it and everything else, the more you're going to see that Declan Rice, because you don't become an absolute wash overnight. So I'm still confident that he'll come back and be at his best. And yeah, obviously sit him out today. I think he'll come straight back in midweek. I really do.
Yeah, it's just about finding that balance for the next few weeks of keeping him match fit, but giving him the rest that he needs to try to get that, that full energised Rice back, because like you said, he's all about athleticism in there, and when he loses that, we lose him a little bit, I think, in the team, and and we need him back. We need the real Declan Rice back, and I think we'll get him. Like you said, I think he's what's good about it is you're seeing him out the team, and you're seeing us still play really well. So it's not like Mikel Arteta sitting there going, "I can't, mate. You got to get back on," and that's good. I don't think he knew that 2 weeks back, to be honest. Even, when he took him off against Chelsea, did he know it? Did he know he could play like this without Declan Rice? We hadn't seen it. So that's encouraging, I think, for the squad. That you shouldn't be too reliant within there on one player. But Neil, at 2-0, very comfortable. I actually relaxed off a little bit at 2-0. Not fully, but I did a little bit. We've not had many like that this season, so I think we all deserved a little bit of that. And it was really, really nice. And yeah, we set off a little bit without the ball, but not a lot. We still took the onus on us. So, it wasn't, we weren't sitting too deep. We weren't encouraging too much from them. We were just sitting into our, he likes to do that a little bit, when we're 2 up. Then we made some changes, Neil. And what a change we made. I mean, even Nwaneri's only played 52 minutes this season in the Premier League, but he's shown so much in those 52 minutes, I think. And but sometimes it's not enough to just show what you can do on the ball. Sometimes you need to, a 17-year-old with Mikel Arteta, with the team where it is right now, you need to provide some real signs of it, real output. And when I saw him score, I thought, well, obviously massively made up for him, but also thought, I wonder if that is a little trigger to Mikel that, hey, I am big time ready now. I think he knows, and he's trying to hold back this, avalanche of a player that's coming through. But it doesn't hurt, does it, for Ethan Nwaneri to pop on in 9 minutes and put away a finish like that? And credit to Sterling as well, Neil, which I'm sure you'll want to give.
I mean, you're asking the wrong guy. If I'm going to be completely wax lyrical. Doesn't do what I'm going to say justice. Actually, what's that George Michael song? Is it Careless Whisper? And he talks about dancing feet got no rhythm or something. I don't know. Well, they need to change his lyrics, because these dancing feet have unadulterated rhythm. This kid. Oh my God! Just before that goal, that run he did, that Maisie, the way he beat that player and made him look like a statue. That's what he does. He's got no fear. He's got balance. He's got a drive, and he's just so comfortable in his own skin and in his own ability. He oozes it. It's almost like you can cut it with a knife. You can see him. He's just full of confidence, unbelievable amount of confidence, but not in an arrogant way. It's almost like it's just his own self-belief and in himself. And he comes on. I honestly, for all the minutes he's played, I think he's made one mistake, one, and that wasn't even a big thing. But it's just he's just been utter quality. And I keep saying it. I think for if you take a player minute by minute, for me, he's our player of the season, without a doubt. Because I don't think he's done much wrong, really. He's always contributing. He's always, his productivity is up there. Everything is there. I think how many goals he scored in the League Cups? Is it 3 goals now? He scored 3, isn't it, altogether? Yeah. So now he's got 4 goals in the small amount of time that he's had on for a senior team in a big club like Arsenal at the age of 17. And he's not 18 until next spring. So he's still a young 17, if that makes sense. That's saying a lot. But, oh, my God, that goal, as soon as he came on, he wanted to go forward and score. And he missed that first opportunity. He does it again within minutes. And yes, the 1-2 was saying, I put a tweet out, I was saying, as much as I am so pleased for Ethan, I'm equally happy for Sterling as well, because he hasn't got, like Ethan, he's not getting much of a chance. But the problem is, because we haven't gone out and bought that forward that everyone was talking about, you two especially, right? We need that squad depth, because I'm hoping we go far in all 4 competitions, guys. Yeah, we've got a chance even for the League Cup. We're playing Crystal Palace next. And again, I think I said it on the last one. No disrespect to them, but I think that's probably a good tie for us. So we've got a chance to progress even further in that cup. So we're arguably in 4 competitions now, which we want to progress far in all of them. We need squad depth. So the Sterlings have to come on and show us what they can do as well. So for him to get on the numbers board, for Ethan to score a 4th goal, all right, he's first in the Prem, and only, the second youngest after Fabregas? I mean, that's saying something as well. I thought it's just wonderful to see that. I talked about right at the start when you introduced us, I said 2 Oscar-winning performances from Saka and Odegaard, but I forgot to mention there was a cameo appearance from Ethan as well. Absolutely wonderful. I'm stoked to bits, and I'm sorry, he's Messi 2.0 for me.
Yeah, I mean, James, what do you think? No, you're spot on there, Neil. What do you think? I argued that Mikel maybe missed the boat a little bit with Ethan, and he didn't intend to play him much in the early portion of this season. And when Odegaard got injured, it threw up maybe a little dilemma, and he kind of went, stuck with his initial thought process. But I felt that we missed a trick against Southampton and Leicester at home, where I felt there was a real opportunity to play him. I think we would have won those games anyway, personally. No disrespect to those teams, but I think we would have won those games anyway. But you would have found out, what can this player give us in the coming weeks, because Odegaard's still, a month or 6 weeks away. And I think if he'd given us something, which I think he would have done, and we can all see now he would have done, he already did from the bench, maybe you start him away at Bournemouth when your Saka and your Odegaards are out. You know what I mean? And I know it's hindsight, makes us all look smart, but I think then we were all saying this as well. I think we were going, yeah, we won, but did we learn anything about us in this one? Could we have done something different? And maybe, but you know what? It's his job. He said after the game, I have to build this player brick by brick by brick, and I can't have him falter and go down. I saw Rico Lewis getting lambasted by City fans yesterday, saying, what is this player? He's not a right back. He's not a central midfielder. What is he? After that loss yesterday. And obviously you don't want that from Nwaneri. I get that. I get all of that. Obviously he's not playing Nwaneri for the reasons he didn't play Smith Rowe and Vieira, was because he did not trust them. He's not playing Nwaneri because he's not got the experience yet, and that will only cut. I get it. But at the same time, we're watching it so excited, going, this is the next big thing. And I guess we have to hold that back a little bit. But James, I wonder, do you think this might be the moment that, like the Smith Rowe moment against Chelsea, maybe for under Mikel Arteta, where it's kind of like not a light switch. He obviously knows how good he is. I'm not silly enough to think that, but is this like moment where he's like, I can trust him now in Premier League games, and maybe even from the start? Or do you think it's maybe not as simple as that? But do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, you're talking about us as fans, saying it from. He should have been starting, obviously, or he should have played more in those games and then maybe started again. Neil's wanted him to start since he made the cameo against Brentford all them seasons ago. So that's how long ago Neil called Nwaneri. But I mean, I think the situations, some of the ones that he's come on when it's been bad. If you look at Bournemouth, even if you look at Inter Milan, He nearly produced a moment. Okay, the ball went over the bar and everything, but in terms of attacking moments that we had in that game, he arguably had one of our best ones. When he spun two, defenders there, and they were grown men as well. And yeah, yesterday he gets given 8 minutes. He has 16 touches of the ball. 11 of them were accurate passes. One of them was a key pass that nearly led to a goal, and he scored one himself. And that's in 8 minutes. So I would love to see what he would do in 90 minutes, Jack, because if he's done that in 8, God knows what he'd do if you gave him an extra 82 minutes to see what else he could do. I do see what Arteta is saying, and I remember having a conversation with you weeks and weeks ago, Jack, in that it reminds me somewhat of how Guardiola used to be with Phil Foden.
Yeah.
And that he had other players in the same sort of roles that he was just like, I'll ease you in. But then once, obviously, David Silva and everything moved on to pastures new, that's when Foden started to get in there. And I really do think next season, when there's a big debate on that 6th position, because regardless of how well Thomas Partey is playing, I still don't think he's going to be renewed. I don't think Jorginho potentially is going to be renewed. So then you're looking at the 6th position and going, is Declan Rice going to move back there, or are we going to buy one? I think we're buying one regardless, just for the depth. But are we buying one that's actually, no, you're going to be our guaranteed starter, and then Rice is going to go back at 8? Because that's a very, very interesting debate for me, because I look at it going, if you move Rice back to 6 and he's like a permanent fixture there, I think it's only a matter of time before it's Rice, Odegaard and Nwaneri in that 3, regardless of how well Moreno is doing. And I know Moreno isn't old, but I think it's only a matter of time before, because, again, using that big word that we've used before, this guy's undeniable. So
yeah, you can't hold him back for too long.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time before he's a permanent fixture. And I know that it's been rumoured a lot, and there was a lot of stuff about it yesterday, but he's only imminently away from signing a new and improved deal. And I think, even like you said, Neil and Jack, and even based on these cameo appearances, like you said, Neil, about minute by minute, the productivity in the amount of minutes that he's had, he deserves to be bumped up. Keep him hungry. I don't like giving young players everything so quickly, but I don't think he's that way inclined, because, like you said, Neil, he's got all the right in the world to be arrogant, but I don't think he is. I think, like Saka, okay, maybe he's not got the personality and the charm that Saka has, because he's quite Stonewall, isn't he, now? Where you said it earlier, Jack, he didn't even really say, if I come on the pitch and score for Arsenal, I'm probably, my shirt's coming off, my shorts are coming off, I'm going insane. But he was very calm and composed, just pointed to the sky and got on with his job and carried on, probably thinking, I've still got a few more minutes here, I might score another, I don't know. And he's an undeniable player. So I think, like you, going back to your question, we definitely, hindsight is a wonderful, but we should have played him more. And I think Arteta knows that as well. Yeah. Deep down, I think deep down he knows that. But again, it's all that, he's all about the control in his head. It's what I lose potentially in the strength and the experience against these big guys, I might not get the positives from them. Where, like you said about Rico Lewis, if we did play him in any of those games and he got completely rinsed, it would be, you know what all these people are like. They come for Arsenal about anything. They would go, oh, look at him. Who does he think he is? When he brought him on when he was 15.
Everyone went.
You saw Cundy and all them. Oh, that's him. That's him wanting to be I've got the record for bringing the youngest player on the list. No, it's just that we've got some kid that's in our academy that's that good.
Yep. Downman will be
good.
next, won't he? Downman will be next. That's funny. Shirt off, shorts off reminds me of Ketspire. Do you remember that one?
Yeah. That's what I'd be doing, mate. That is what I'd be doing.
Yeah, fair play to it. I think Ketspire had a little bit going here, but that's fair play. But no, it was a great finish as well. I mean, it wasn't an easy finish. When he took it on, I was like, gee, and I was like, hold on a minute, let me have a look at this finish again. It wasn't an easy finish. He was sliding in on it. Not a bad ball by Sterling.
Small gap, wasn't it? It was a small gap.
I have to say, I think if I was Forest, I'd be a little bit annoyed because it hit the back of the ref. And the ref restarted the game, and they were not set at all. Fair play to us. I mean, we were ready to go, but they were like, "What? We stopped the game for?" And they just dropped the ball right in front of Partey's feet or someone's, and we were just gone. I think if it was 0-0, they would have gone absolutely mental. They'd already lost, but they would have gone absolutely mental at that point. But no, it was fantastic. You know what Arteta will argue, though? My argument at the start of the season was you've got to prove that you trust him more than Smith Rowe and Vieira, and he will still argue that he has. He's played half the amount of minutes that Smith Rowe played in the whole of last season, Nwaneri, in all competitions. Smith Rowe had about 475. He's played 238, Nwaneri. So he's already played a lot more, and I think it's only going to increase because of his age. He's definitely going to play more as the season. I know Odegaard's back now, but he is going to play more because Odegaard's not going to. We're going to have to protect him and so on. And I think he could well get minutes, like you said, maybe at the 8, maybe even out wide. I think he could get minutes there because Saka will sometimes come off at 75, 80, and if Jesus is not doing it or whatever, I think when you get minutes there as well, just needs to keep showing it. Just needs to keep showing it, and he is doing that. So keep ignoring someone like that. You can't. He's just too obvious. He's too inevitable, as people like to say. Right? He's just there. But it was a lovely cap to a brilliant performance, I thought, and a very good sort of team performance collectively. I thought we looked very good. Mikel Arteta seemed pretty happy at the end of it, and it's just one game, but. Before the game, Forest, where they're at this moment, I don't think you can ask much more from this game, at least, in terms of our performance and the way he showed up. Do you think, Neil, did you see enough from the fringe players, the Jesuses that came in this game? And obviously, we already said Jorginho and did very well. And I think I trust him from the start in any which game Mikel Arteta wants to use him. Jesus, for me, still too many of our attacks break down with him. He still takes too many touches for me. He wasn't bad. I don't think anyone was bad really in this game, but I still think we need to see more. And I'm not certain where his best position is when we bring him on. I still feel it's probably more wide, and he played a bit more central this time. But though Trossard was filling in as well, but. Do you think you're seeing any green shoots from there?
Honestly, no. Neither from Trossard or Jesus, unfortunately. I hate to say this, talk about Trossard like this, because I really like the guy, and maybe things will change. I don't know. Especially if he start playing better, maybe he'll find his feet again and become the player he was. But recently, he just hasn't been the same player for me. Yeah, he wasn't terrible yesterday, not like he has been in previous games, but then all of us were lacking in previous games. I think we've just all found our feet. So he's obviously probably naturally had a bit of a rise up from that, pretty much like everyone else has. But Jesus, he's not the player he was when we first got him. He just isn't. And I might have been a bit unfair to him in one of the previous pods because I forgot about the injury that he had. I don't think he's ever been the same since the injury, so it could be a bit of that as well. But look, we can't carry players. We're a team that's challenging now for big honours. We just haven't got the time to carry players. I wouldn't be, devastated if one or two of them went. Even as early as January, and we got the player that we all want to come in instead. So you guys might see it differently, but I wasn't like off the edge of my, standing up thinking, oh my God, that was amazing from Jesus, or that was incredible from Trossard. Where they used to, when Trossard used to come on as a sub and he'd be like, oh my God, look, we told you. He's brilliant as a sub. Look, he's changed the game. Or Jesus in the early days used to do something. You're like, oh my God, did you see that from Jesus? I don't get that from him anymore. They don't excite me anymore as a fan. So again, might be being overly critical because I don't want to put a dampener on what was a very, very good performance yesterday. But you've asked the question, so that's just the way I see it, Jack.
Yeah, the hard part is he's on 265 grand a week, and moving him on is a tremendously difficult thing to do unless the player forces it. To be honest, he's not beyond that. He's not someone that I tend to feel would sit for too long. I think he definitely is clearly very, very annoyed that he's not a bigger part of things now. I've never sort of looked at Jesus as an Ozil that would be happy to sit there and take the money and put an umbrella over his head and stuff like that. He doesn't strike me as one of those, in fairness to him. But we need to see more from him, don't we? We need more from him because there's a good chance that he won't move on, certainly this season. So we definitely need a little bit more from him. But overall, brilliant performance, terrific. Now we've got to play Sporting on Tuesday and then West Ham away on Saturday. So let's do some predictions for that. James Gutierrez, Sporting, they're obviously brilliant, but they've just lost their manager, so don't really know too much about how that's affected. I don't even, have they employed a new manager, or are they still looking for a new manager? I don't even know, do you? I have no idea. But
my knowledge of Portuguese football is very limited, other than
I can look
watching,
that up
other than watching what Gutierrez does every week. My Portuguese football knowledge is limited.
Yeah, same. But we do know that they were terrific under Amorim, and that, they absolutely bashed Man City, and so it's going to be a really tough game. And at home, I think they've got 100% record at home, haven't they, this season? So, James, what's your predictions for Sporting away and West Ham away?
So, I want to see us actually score a goal away in Europe this year because we haven't done it yet. But I think it's still going to be quite a tough game. I know, obviously, last year that Porto one, we nearly got out of there with a good point, and then they scored that goal really late on. I think we're going to get a draw here, and I'm going to go for 1-1 against Sporting Lisbon. And then, do you want me to do West Ham, or do you want Neil to do his Sporting first, you to do, and then we'll go, or shall I just do both now?
Yeah, you do both. Yeah, did you say scorer for Sporting?
Sporting, 1-1. I'm going to go I'm going to go Gabriel. I think set piece. Let's bring that back. And then the weekend with West Ham, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to say same as Nottingham Forest. I'm going to go 3-0. And I'm going to go for... I'm going to pick Martinelli. Yeah, I'm going to go 3-0 Gabriel Martinelli.
Sorry, I take that all day. God, I'm always on mute. Sorry, my kid's crying in the background, so I'm trying to keep the sound quality, obviously.
Are they just watching the Nwaneri goal back? Because I understand.
We all understand.
I nearly cried as well. Yeah,
it's tears of joy. It's tears of joy. I'm sure it is. It always is at this time of the night. Neil, predictions, Sporting and West Ham.
Got to stop your man. How are we going to stop your man?
He's dangerous, mate. He is dangerous.
I was going to do 1-0. I forgot about he plays for them. Right, oh, God, maybe I shouldn't do. I agree with James. We've struggled to score, so I think it would be a bit arrogant for me to say anything more than one goal, but then I know that they're going to get one probably from him. Well, I don't know. Maybe our defence will be good enough. I don't know. So I will say 2-1. I'll go out on a limb and say 2-1 because I don't do draws or losses. So I'll go 2-1. And I think more importantly, we just get Arteta to speak to this kid or this lad and get him to come to a very prestigious London club, the best football club the world's ever seen, in January. I think that will be a massive positive byproduct of our trip in midweek. So 2-1 and get him to come in Jan. That's what my prediction is. And West Ham, I'll be a little bit more cautious than James for a change. I'll go 2-0. And I will say, I think Saka will score against West Ham 2-0.
Saka, okay. All right, Saka will go. I'm just looking. It looks like they promoted João Pereira, which is the reserve team boss. So they've kind of like moved someone up. It also looks like that they've had a complete week off post-international break in the Portuguese league. So they don't even play this weekend. So they've had a complete rest there. And they roll into Tuesday's game. The Premier League would never give any of that, would they? No chance. But, they've won every game in their league, and they've been pretty terrific in the Champions League. So, in saying that, I'll go 1-0 to the Arsenal. I'll go 1-0 Arsenal, and I'll say Havertz, 1-0 Havertz. I'll go with that. And our away goal scoring record in the Champions League has been pretty.
Oh, if Havertz scores against him, he won't buy Goycrest. He'll be like, I've got Havertz. I don't need him.
Yeah.
Don't pick Havertz.
Oh, that's true. That's a good point.
That's the thing. There you go.
No. I agree with you. I get what you mean.
Yeah. I mean, it would be a massive result. But we need a result too. After the defeat we had against Inter, we're in a precarious position a little bit in the Champions League, aren't we? And we need to take something. We're sitting, I don't know where we're sitting, around 12th or something, is it, in that league? So we've got 3 games remaining in the Champions League. So it would really come. Is it 3 left after Sporting or two left after Sporting? It might be 3 left after Sporting.
I think it's 2.
Is it?
Yeah, don't quote me because I'm normally wrong.
Sorry, I'm just going to check that. Champions League game days. Let's check, see if I've got it up here. It's
Monaco, I know is one of them. And then
we've got Brest, haven't we? No, we haven't got Brest.
Zagreb and Girona. Oh, so it is 3.
It's 3. Okay, so there's 4 more games, including the Sporting one, but still. Yeah, all right, I'll go 1-0 Havertz. Then West Ham, I'll go West Ham away. I'll go 3-1 Arsenal. 3-1 Arsenal. No, it's going to be tough, yeah. Going to be tough. But I don't think they can play Kudos in that one, can they? I think he's suspended. I think. Because didn't he get a 3-game ban, Kudos, for a sending off?
Yeah, he had enough at Tottenham, didn't he? He got fed up and just started pushing and shoving all of them.
Right. So I think
which endeared me to Kudos more.
Yeah, he got his suspension extended to 5 matches. And I think that on November the 6th, so I think that includes us. I think so. But and obviously he's really dangerous for them. So I'll go 3-1 Saka against West Ham. But fingers crossed, boys. Sorry to
interrupt you. You are right. We're 12th in the Champions League table.
Yeah, so you've got to make that top 8, haven't you?
Yeah, top 8. Yeah.
So we need to take something there. Really, we've got to. But away performances have not been good, to be fair, in the Champions League. They've not been great. We have that Seville win last season, but beyond that, we lost away at Lens, was it, and lost away a few other places, and the performances were quite poor, obviously. So we need to show ourselves a little bit more, and let's hope we can do it, because this is a tough team to do it against, but we've got to do it. Hopefully this performance can breed some confidence in our football. So, boys, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. We're at Purely Arsenal FP on Twitter. You can find us at Purely Arsenal on YouTube. Just type us in there. Please subscribe to us there. It's for free. No adverts. No nothing like that. And comment. Thanks for all the comments on YouTube and on Twitter. Appreciate it every week. And we'll be back after the West Ham game, and hopefully 2 more wins for the Arsenal. Come on, boys. Coming back. Come on. Cheers, boys. Thank you.